work indeed, but I have promises to keep, miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Chairperson, at first I would like to give thanks all of you for giving me a chance in this dais for present my presentation in front of you. Ladies and gentlemen, at first I would like to have your attention in this picture. Some of my colleagues are actually jumping. So what does it have with relation of microfinance in this picture? While we jump, after 2 or 3 seconds or after few seconds, we must have to fall down to the earth. Like that, this book's author, Mr. Bateman, described microfinance has some sort of sharp peak and there must have some sort of sharp decline. He described microfinance like this in his book. Then I would like to show you another picture. Look, a boy can't move from poverty and he's trapped in the form of poverty. What does it mean? In chapter 4 of this book, microfinance is known as a poverty trap. Actually, in long term, microfinance cannot reduce the poverty. Microfinance actually promoting the poverty. Mr. Bateman actually said that in his book. Okay. This chapter started by looking at the microfinance industry's own impact assessment. For much obvious reason, microfinance is actually seriously in conflict. In microfinance, we are seeing now this time, we are actually seeing a partial side of microfinance. We cannot see the full picture of the microfinance. He actually said that in his books. And community displacement and client exit is a common problem in microfinance. The rest of the chapter was dedicated to closer examination of microfinance model practice. Okay. I'm sorry, sir. Okay. Before grounding the main triggers that known underpin sustainable local economic development and assessing what impact microfinance has typically made with the context of each category, microfinance model largely frustrates development. Actually, it hampers development. In long term, microfinance cannot promote development according to Mr. Bateman's statement. Okay. The presumed economic development and poverty reduction power of the microfinance model is far less than the International Development Committee has been led to believe to data, but that microfinance has been and a major contributor factor in the destruction of the main positive economic and social development trajectories. Okay. In this picture, I would like to show you a picture which is taken from the Sri Lanka. Some ladies are protesting against the microfinance system. And in this chapter, Mr. Bateman has said the commercialization and death of the microfinance. Look, there is a bank. It's a Kenyan women microfinance bank. Do you think this bank is different than the other finance bank or other banks? No. This bank actually runs with a very high cost, the lending price is cost, the management cost is very high. So actually, while we are actually commercializing the microfinance, the extra amount of money actually taken from the rural people, from the common people, and they are actually acting like a loan shark. Mr. Bateman has described this in his book, and the new wave approach of microfinance raising the main power case, they claim commercialization would facilitate the largest possible availability of microfinance at the lowest possible cost to governments and the international donor community. And in the growing number of cases where the microfinance industry has achieved its central goal, microfinance is made available to anyone who might want it. Even microfinance advocates have been forced to conduct that results have been very far from the satisfactory. Okay, in the next slide, moreover, examination of the comparator's case graphically shows deals with the commercialization of the microfinance activity, a whole host antisocial and anti-poor developments, especially their easy capture by senior staff. Actually, microfinance doesn't do well in the long term in the society. Okay, in this picture, what we're seeing our Honorable Nobel Laureate Dr. Mohammad Yunus is actually surrounded by some police and some advocates. And this picture actually represents the politics of the microfinance. From the 80s and 90s, while the microfinance boom actually occurred all over the world, there are so many lawsuits and cases regarding the microfinance system all over the world. And some would like to describe this. This is nothing, another modern version of the loan shark business. Okay, the politics of microfinance, mainly within the microfinance industry, has argued that today's microfinance model is the direct descent of the various forms of small-scale finance that emerged in the early 19th century to democratize the challenge new system of industrial capitalism. Okay, the Grameen Bank model that emerged in the 1980s, and even more so the new wave microfinance model that began to replace it from the early 1990s onwards, actually represents quite fundamental schemes with various lifts and community revival movements supporting microfinance in the past. Okay, in the chapter 7, in this picture, what we're seeing sustainable growth. From the microfinance, we actually want sustainable growth, but in the reality, it can't do the sustainable growth. So what would be the alternatives of the microfinance? Even